Alo-
Good morning.
Aloha kako. I would like to call today's Public Land Trust Working Group meeting to order. Let the record reflect that it is Tuesday, June 4th, 2024, and the time is 8:03. We are recording this remote meeting held by Interactive Conference Technology. The members present in today's meeting are Sherry Broder, Don Chang, Ryan Kanakaole, Luis Salaveria, and myself, Hululin. Administrative and technical support are provided by Stacy Ferreira, Everett Ota, Amber Kalua, and Arlene Aguinaldo. First on our agenda is approval of meeting summary, which you got in your file. Amber, is anyone signed up to speak on this item?
No, they are not.
So the summary we're reviewing is May 6, 2024. Can I get a motion to approve the meeting summary for March 21?
So moved, Chair.
Second.
It's been moved in second. Members, any discussion on any of the meeting summaries? If none, roll call vote, Amber.
Sherry Broder,
Aye.
Don Chang,
Aye.
Berkeley Galutaria is not logged onto the meeting. Ryan Kanakaole,
Aye.
Hulu Lindsay,
Here, aye.
and Luis Salaveria.
Aye.
We have 5 yes votes. Motion passes.
Thank you. We'll move on to item 3, issues and status of various inventories. Sherry?
Okay. I'm just going to report that what I'm going to be trying to do is find out where all the different inventories are. Like there's some at UH and there's some at the archives, and maybe I can coordinate with DLNR, but to try to put together a list of where everything is, and we can include it as part of our report. Not to say that it's definitive of anything, but at least we can say that there are all these various inventories around. And so I wanted to ask if anybody has any ideas about where there might be inventories besides DLNR and OHA, if they could just send me a quick note.
Well,
Sorry, do you have any
So I think that's
idea
all.
whether
Here.
oh sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh no, do you have any idea whether the archives type information is that digital or is that all hard copy? I'm not aware.
I don't know. I just thought, there's always criticism of the inventory that does exist, the PLTIS, and I know the next step for DLNR is to make it better, and hopefully we'll be able to coordinate on that. So I thought as part of the package that we put together in terms of our report that we would include that. But I think you've asked an excellent question, Ryan, and that the report should include how to access any inventory that we put on the list. I like that. That's a great idea.
okay. Are we going to be designating a technical staff at DLNR and OHA to discuss the OHA input on specifications to help?
Now you're talking about you're talking about procurement now for the PLTIS, Chair?
Yes, if that's what you're calling it.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a new structure for Dawn that she received monies for, or if they're still gonna be calling it upgrades of the PLTIS.
Yeah, if I may, Chair,
Yes.
I'll provide you an update. So we did get the $900,000 that we had requested in our, Ryan, that is correct, right?
Yes, we did. We received the
Okay.
funds.
Okay, I'm looking over at Lewis. Yes, we did get this one. So, no, yes, so we did receive the 900,000. I did check with our land division on the status of this procurement process. And so if you remember Christopher Wong, so Chris Wong is, he is I guess you would call him, he's sort of our technical person over at land division who works on the PLTIS. And he has offered to be available to answer any questions that OHA may have, questions or recommendations regarding the PLTIS upgrade project. But let me give you a little update on what's our tentative procurement process schedule and our
Okay.
timeline.
Thank you.
Yeah, so it is an upgrade. It's not a new system. It's upgrading the existing system. The intention is to allow, the goal of this upgrade is to allow it to be quicker, more resilient, and better able to withstand the amount and volume of public users, because it has a public interface. So we are upgrading the system coding, infrastructure, and architecture, as well as obtaining ongoing maintenance and support. The underlying public trust data would not be changed, merely the system that houses the data. Therefore, OHA's, but again, we're open to, and I may have prematurely committed, thought that we could greater interface, and we still might. So I did have I cut Sherry's comments at the beginning of this meeting about accepting Don's offer to coordinate. So we are looking at actually preparing a scope of work to be completed by June 21st, this month. Based upon that scope of work, and that's going to be reviewed by our land division and our IT department. After that scope of work is completed, then we'll prepare the RFP and go out for publication probably in July. I mean, we want to move this rather quickly. We hope to get vendor proposals by the end of September, do an evaluation by the end of October, and complete the selection process before the end of the year. Very quick moving procurement process. But the key, I think, Sherry, right now, is if OHA wants to get input on the scope of work, it's to get input right now with Chris. And again, he's very open. He said, please, should OHA have any questions or recommendations regarding the upgrade project, they can call him and you can I can forward you his email and his contact number. But Chris is probably going to be the person in charge. So I think, Sherry, that would be a really good place to start, is with Chris. And again, they are looking at preparing the scope of work. So right now is the best time to get input on what you'd like to see included in there, if we can. And again, this isn't a new system. This is to upgrade the existing one. But if there's an opportunity for us to, as part of that upgrade, there are certain kinds of information that OHA asks for, and let's see if we can if that can be included in the scope of work. And no guarantee, but this is the right time now. The time is right to get that input with Chris now.
Thank you, Don.
You're welcome. Does that help, Sherry?
Okay, I guess my understanding from you was that OHA could be involved in the specifications. I'm not going to say that you promised that whatever OHA suggested would be included, but I thought my understanding was that you offered for OHA to be involved in the specifications. So I'm assuming that the scope of services and specifications are kind of two different words for somewhat of the same thing.
Yeah, and if my recollection is, I may have qualified that based upon what we submitted in our appropriation. So our scope of work was dictated by what we asked the legislature to approve. So we cannot go in there and for 900,000, our original project, it cost us several $1 million.
Mhm.
So this was intended only to be an upgrade. So again, I'm hoping I clarified that my comments and my offer was to the extent that it's consistent, it's consistent with the appropriation language and what we submitted to the ledge in getting that 900,000. But again, the time is right now. They're putting together the scope of work. So I think if you're interested in getting input, it's right now is the time to do that.
Yeah,
But-
I think so too.
Okay, so I think what we would need, Dawn, is whatever it was you submitted to the legislature.
I think I've already submitted that. I think I circulated that earlier when we gave you the copy of the bill. I have to go and look for that.
All right.
I don't know if,
All
but
right.
that was that appropriation language.
Yeah, so I think, in order to not waste anybody's time, your time or DLNR's time or OS time, we should start with that. So,
Let me ask Ryan. Ryan, can you see if you can find that appropriation language? And maybe we can send it to the working group now. If not, we'll
900K.
get it. Pardon?
For the 900K.
900,
Okay,
yeah,
will do.
900K. Okay,
so then I think the best plan would be for OHA's IT people to talk to
yeah.
DLNR's IT people, because I mean, I could come up with something probably, but
That's a good idea.
I think we're talking about mostly about technical things. So is there somebody, Stacy?
Chris Wong. Oh, in
Yeah,
your
but at
office?
OHA.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay.
Very, we do.
All right. Okay. Great.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dawn. Thank you.
You're
Ryan.
welcome. And I would suspect that our technical people,
Yeah.
they know the technical issues. You may be wanting to discuss some substantive issues related to the scope. So I think we can introduce them to each other. And
Okay.
then after that, there may be a need for greater discussion. But again, our time period is really tight.
Yes.
I mean, we're looking at the next 2 weeks. So
Okay.
as soon as we can put them in contact with each other, that'd be,
Mhm.
excuse me.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay, all right.
Okay, so item number 3 on our agenda, review of status of OHA Kipuka database. Sherry, did you talk with anybody in OHA
Mm,
that?
I haven't talked for a few weeks. Does anybody know? Last when I talked to them, they were working on moving forward, but I'm not really sure.
Amber, do you know anything? Amber,
Regarding the Kibuka database, I do not. What I can do is I can go look into it on behalf of the PLT to see if we can get anything further since it's our OHA Kibuka database.
yes.
But as far as that's regarding, I don't have any updates
Okay.
besides what
Can
Sherry
you-
had shared.
Can you follow up on that?
Yes, I can. I'll make a notation.
Okay, number 4, development of list of state repositories and libraries by DLNR and OHA containing historical documents relating to the lands of the Hawaiian Kingdom and the subsequent transfers.
Okay, I think that's what I was talking about in the very beginning when we started the meeting, which was creating a list of where you can find inventories, maps, documents relating to starting with the lands of the Hawaiian Kingdom in 1892 and going forward. So I guess I would just ask if anybody has any ideas or knows of anything to let me know, and I'm gonna start working on generating such a list.
Okay, so like the UH Hawaiian department, they have some. And okay, so you'll put together a list.
Hamilton Library at UH has documents.
Okay,
Okay,
will this include the PLTIS?
well, yes, it will be every possible place where people can find out
Okay.
inventory information. As part of an effort, I think that there's a lot of interest in the Hawaiian community in a complete and exhaustive inventory. And I think we have the PLTIS to start with. And,
Okay.
you know, then we might, in our report, it might be that we could do this at least to help people if they want to do further research on the lands of the Hawaiian Kingdom and
Okay.
where they are today.
Okay, and then when you put this list together, you're gonna
Yes.
draft a letter to all federal agencies and to the counties to inquire about their information systems on the lands of the Hawaiian Kingdom, historical transfers, and current status of inventories they have or plan to develop. Correct?
Right, so I'm gonna work on a letter to that extent, but after we did the agenda, I did draft a letter which Amber has to circulate today I thought we should start for the federal agencies, we should just start with DOI and Brian and Senator Schatz, because I think we still need money. So you'll see my letter. We asked for money again to undertake this project. And also, I think we need help with the other federal agencies. I mean, we didn't get very far with our own state agencies. So I don't want us to, you know, be sending out letters and we don't really get any responses. So I think we need assistance. So I did draft up a letter to send to the two of them. It's not too long, but it's to start communication.
Okay, now who's signing these letters? That
You.
okay,
Okay.
okay. Amber, do you have that letter? Because I'd like for Don and Ryan and Louis to see it.
Yes, I forwarded the information already. I forwarded it at 8:11 because
Okay,
the
can you
agenda item was coming up.
put it up on the screen, Amber?
Yes, I can
So
share
people can
my,
see it.
and the letter you want me to share is the Word document, correct?
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
And if people want to make any changes, Amber, can you do it right on the document as we talk?
Yes, it'll take me some time, because I'm running
Oh.
multiple programs for the meeting, but we can make
Okay.
the adjustments. I can do it in a track change. Can you folks see the letter?
You got to make it bigger.
Okay. Is that
Okay.
good?
Can you folks see it?
Yes.
Don, can you see it?
Yes, Chair, I can see it. Thank you very much. Yeah, I appreciated making it bigger too. Thank you.
So Sherry says to review it, and if you have anything to add or subtract, whatever, can you let us know?
So I think if we could approve it today, so we could then send it out, Chair can sign it, she'll have the authority to sign it from the committee. It's not too complicated, and I did reuse some of the language we used in the letter we sent out to the state agencies.
I got a question.
Luis?
No, I got a question.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I
So-
didn't recognize the difference in voice.
Yeah. Well, Galutaria and Salaveria are kind of close. The question, I guess the question is for whomever. You were mentioning that we aren't getting responses from certainly state agencies and some federal agencies. Is that what you said, Sherry? Is that what
we did send out a letter to all the state agencies asking for information on the PLT. And we basically, we got responses, but no information.
I see. So basically standard procedure, right? Yeah, okay, on the federal level, do we send the same type of requests to, or at least informational type of uh, documentation to Interior?
Okay,
mean,
well, that's why, you know, if initially when I worked on the agenda, I was thinking we'd send out letters again like we did to the state. But as I thought about it some more, I thought, what we need with the state is we need some help. We need like the governor or somebody to say you actually have to, you know, dig into your files and really provide an answer. So I thought that's why this draft letter is only to the Department of Interior and to Senator Schatz, you know, so that we can coordinate with, we can get some help to have some authority to get answers. So that's,
Is that to, in DOI, does that include Office of Native Hawaiian Relations and Stanton Inamoto?
No,
it would be directly to the Secretary of the Interior. And the reason I think that that's the way we should do it is last year in June, I went with the chair and the her chief of staff at the time, Colin Kippen. We went up there and we had meetings with the DOI, and I felt that we got a promise. We didn't meet with Stanton and but we met with, you know, number 2 at the DOI and the woman who is head of their budget and finance, you know.
Is that the direct hit into what we need?
Yes, I think that they're the people in charge, you know, they're
Okay.
over Stanton and those people. And, but so I just thought that they made
No,
They made promises to us that they want to help us and that they would.
no, I understand. I
Yeah.
feel that if Stanton them should know what is going on so that they
Okay.
can work bottom up while we try work top down.
Okay, so we should probably, I think if we're gonna, I think that's a good idea. We should let more people know, and we should also let Summer know, because she's the lawyer at DOI assigned to Native Hawaiian Affairs.
Yeah.
well,
They're gonna know
Sherry,
what's going on.
Yes,
Sherry, did you go to breakfast with the DOI secretary and us?
yes, I did. I
So
went
you
with
remember Summer was there.
Right,
So
right.
Summer
Summer
is
was
quite
there.
aware of what we asked secretary for.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, because we brought this up last summer when we met with her.
Right. We met, Brickwood, we met personally with the Secretary of Interior in Honolulu. We had breakfast with her and there was only about 6 of us.
Mhm.
And, you know, we mentioned our problem and she was very, very interested in helping us. In fact, she even cried knowing that indigenous people always get kicked in the okole. So she promised to help us, and Summer's been attentive, but because of the fires in Maui, Summer was assigned to the Maui, actually FEMA, just temporarily. So she was not in the secretary's office in Washington, D.C. She's been temporarily out here in Maui. She is now back in D.C., so we can continue our conversation with her and in getting the secretary's commitment.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with this approach. In addition to it, I think those players a little bit further down the ladder should know what's going on. If Summer's the point of entry, okay, that's fine. But if I were to call Stanton today, would he be able to tell me with any authority that he knows what's been asked? Do you think?
No,
Okay.
he won't be able to tell you.
So he wouldn't be, I mean, not that he would be able to do anything. But I
Yeah.
think there will be the moment where if Summer hasn't alerted him yet, that we want to ensure that he knows what's going on. You know. But however we do that, Sherry,
Yes,
let's see if we can do that.
okay. Well, I think we should also include the Office of Tribal Relations, not just the Native Hawaiian. Because they do some things as well relating to Native Hawaiians. So we may as well let we should write, I think, to the secretary and to the senator, and then we can CC these other people.
Okay. So did everybody in the working committee review the letter that's up on the screen?
Chair Lindsay, can I ask a question of Sherry?
Sure.
Okay. Sherry, is this the first time that a letter is going to the federal agencies requesting this information?
Okay, this is last June, the chair of OHA submitted testimony at the field hearing of the Senate Committee on Indian Affairs. And a request for assistance with the inventory was brought up at that time. Okay, so it is in the testimony from June 1, 2023. The Department of Interior, when we went up there last year in June, we brought this issue up, not just to the secretary, but to the other high-ranking officials that we met with. And they, seem to act like they wanted to help us do something about it. So
yeah, because this is the first time that I'm aware that.
Yes, so they know about this, right?
Okay, and Acts 273, upon which we were established.
Yes.
I'm just trying to determine.
Quote,
but is this within the scope of our Act 273? The federal agencies?
Is it? Yes, because we're working on the public land trust inventory. So I would, they also have information.
But those funds aren't included in the public land trust. They're not subject to, so I guess I'm just wondering, I mean, your letter quotes a lot of the legal authorities, the constitutional provisions, but I am also wondering, and I'm sorry, this is the first time I'm reading, I didn't get a chance to review it earlier.
That's okay.
But I am just wondering,
I think you're asking a good question, Dawn. Yeah. But I do think, I mean, the lands that the state has are from the feds, right? So,
well, actually, the lands from the feds are from the Kingdom of Hawaii.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so
stolen.
So maybe that needs to be clarified in the letter.
But I think that I'm going to go along with the majority of the working group, but I am just, if this is the first time they're receiving such a request like this, I am just wondering whether there should be a little bit more background.
Okay.
Because
we did bring it up before, but I tried to keep this letter short.
Yeah, no, well, I mean, yeah, and you quote all the legal authorities, but yeah, I mean, if I was receiving this and I'm sure they're all going to check with their lawyers, but yeah, I'm just wondering, should there be some context in this?
Amber, can you scroll down just a little bit so she can see more? Okay, go back up a little bit. Start with the ceded lands, put that at the top, okay? So this is that, I did try to explain.
Okay.
Sherry, while Chair Chang is reviewing that, could we consider adding source documents as a request? So it's not just an accounting of the ceded lands, but also the source documents that articulate where the 1.8 million.
Mm-hmm.
Because if they just send us a list, then
I think keep scrolling through, Amber, so everybody can see what the whole thing is that we asked for. Okay.
Yeah.
So
I just-
what are we asking them? We're asking them to provide,
We're asking for them to start working with us to find these documents in the federal system.
oh, it's just to find the documents. It's not to provide us an inventory.
No,
Request
not yet.
assistance in working with the federal agencies that may have relevant documents and maps, funding for the work okay, so those are the two things. Assist us in finding relevant documents and maps and funding to prepare this, a more accurate
Yeah.
inventory.
Right.
Well,
Okay.
before this act was even passed through the legislature, we met with the Department of Interior and we asked for these
Okay.
documents.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. So this is just a follow-up in writing and reminding them, I'm sure, of what we asked them physically and personally for.
Why don't we add the word source documents as Stacy suggested in that list of what we're asking for them to help
Yeah,
us
I think that would
find?
be, I think that would be.
All right, so
clarity.
can
And
I
then can
move to amend the letter to include the word source documents?
And Sherry, should we have a deadline? So because I feel like if this is the second request, then
It
we should
does
get-
say at the end, I didn't
does?
put in
Okay.
a date.
Okay.
Did I put in a date in the last? Well, let's say, okay, after the word relevant in the second full paragraph, Amber, add the word relevant documents, comma, source materials,
Yes,
original source materials and maps.
yes,
Is that okay, Stacy?
perfect, Mahalo.
Okay, then scroll down to the end, Amber.
Wait, can,
Okay.
sorry, where?
Okay, after the word relevant documents, comma,
Okay, sorry, I gotta read through.
It's number one, after the second number one, go down.
Right
There you
here.
go. Yep,
Oh, relevant document, comma.
original source materials. Okay, now scroll to the very end. Thank you. Okay,
it just says, yeah, I don't see a date, I just see please
All right.
respond to.
so what do you, how long, why don't we just, I mean, they should be able to respond in 20 days. We're not asking them to produce anything. We're just asking them to open up the dialogue.
I mean, could we just make it specific and could you provide us please with a contact that we may follow up on all of these, on all of this
Okay.
information by a certain date?
All right. Okay, so why don't we change, Amber, where it says please, change it to say, please provide us with the appropriate contact person.
By whatever date.
Okay, by June 20th. Okay, then strike respond to all the way through numbers and paren. Strike that. Okay.
Perfect.
And Chair Lindsay, did you have a conversation also with Senator Schatz? So he won't be surprised when he receives this?
We did have a conversation
Okay.
with him in a personal visit,
Okay, okay.
other than the official one that I made in his committee.
Yep, he is the right person. I know that they're going through their budget process right now. So I'm not sure. Yeah, it would be nice if we could get money this year, but I don't know what the likelihood. Do you have an idea, Sherry, what kind of money you're asking for?
Well, I guess, something similar to what we asked the state for, but maybe we need, I wanted to ask for $1 million to begin with, but Stacy convinced
I think
me.
if you're wanting a whole new system, you're gonna have to
Yeah.
ask for a lot more than 1 million.
Yeah,
We were talking about the state at the time and we were in major budget crisis. We had to
yeah,
be.
it's okay, it's okay. I'm just-
But the feds, we should probably go.
Let's just
forward.
get things started, and, you know, then we can see, but I think you know, there may be more potential for funding from the feds to really get the amount that we do need. But maybe there's not, so I think we can just start with an inventory. I think the feds are more familiar with this kind of a request because the DOI has been sued quite a few times in the last 20 years over inventories and accounting
Oh, okay.
by
I didn't
Indian
know that.
tribes, and a lot of money has been spent on it.
Mhm.
So I
And
think, yeah, go ahead, Chair.
the Indians got a lot of money too, from their
Right.
suits,
Right.
millions
So, I
and
mean,
millions. So
So
my
there-
question, Chair, Chang, my question to the DOI secretary was, when they returned the lands that was stolen to Hawaii in 1959 when we became a state, where is the description of what they returned? That was my question.
Hmm.
Because I'm a real estate broker and you don't transfer property without a description.
Hmm.
So what was the description? Was it just a blank number of acreage all over the state of Hawaii? Or is there meets and bounds? Or are they tax map keys? That's what I asked, and nobody could answer my question.
That is a very good question. I don't know the answer either. I would suspect, I'm gonna try to ask someone in our land division, because those lands that were returned, or those lands that were ceded back, I'd like to believe there's some kind of property description if we subsequently convey them or, EO them or lease them out. That's a good question, Chair Lindsay.
Mhm.
I'm gonna double check myself.
So my
Okay.
understanding
Oh, okay.
is for statehood, that transfer
Yep.
between the United States and the state of Hawaii, that's
Mhm.
encapsulated in Section 5 of the Admissions Act, which does not include meets and bounds or any description of the properties themselves. It's just basically, you know,
Yeah.
what was
Acreage.
public lands held by the United States at the time. And then it's basically, very general.
So how do
maybe
we,
there is something more because
yeah, gotta be
the
something more.
feds would have a self-interest
Yeah.
in having their own properties that they kept, such as the national parks and the military bases.
Ryan, and the 1.8, that's inclusive of DHHL lands.
Yes,
Yes.
So to me, that's the starting point, because that had to be a transfer, right? There was a transfer from the 1.8 million minus, if you take out DHHL lands, right, then you have the balance. So if we can start with the DHHL transfer and figure out how to work from
There
that.
are documentation, and I don't know if it's in the archives or whether DHHL themselves has it, but the first set of resolutions done by the Hawaiian Homes Commission essentially selected the lands. And those would have the maps.
There you go.
I've seen several of those resolutions, not all of them, but several of them. But those are the first, I want to say, 20 odd resolutions of the Hawaiian Homes Commission.
That's perfect, because then that means they had the totality of all 1.8 to select from, right? So that should have descriptions across the Pai'aina of what was available. And then the date.
how do we locate those, Ryan? I mean, is there somebody at DHHL that would
The
be in charge of
DHHL
their maps?
at their planning division would have those records because they have the inventory that was developed in the mid 90s, and the inventory that was developed in the mid 90s is a hard copy inventory. It was actually done by a Deputy Attorney General, George Cahill, and
Okay.
he used those resolutions. And so every parcel that is the large parcels from the original section 203 of the act that were set aside to be available lands, Hawaiian homeland status, those
Mhm.
sections, selected and articulated in the act, they have folders for,
Okay.
and in those folders they have the source documents typically.
That's-
Now there was some issues when DHHL was in the basement of the territorial building and there was some flooding, so I think there may have been some damage to the documents, but otherwise they have the documents planning division or the planning office in
Right.
DHHL.
Okay. Thank you, Ryan.
So Chair, can I ask Amber, in light of Ryan's clarification, how did DHHL respond to the letter that we sent out? What did they provide us? Because I'm sorry, I don't recall.
Would you like me to share that letter?
Yeah, could you?
Well, why don't, Don, before we do that,
Okay.
should we move
Wanna
to
finish
adopt
this?
this letter as amended? Would that be okay? Or did you want to add something about DH?
Oh, no,
Okay.
that's fine. We can do
Is that
that.
okay? All right,
Yeah,
so
that's
some
fine.
move, we adopt the letter as amended to be sent out. And with the CCs that we discussed relating to the Office of Native Hawaiian Relations, the Office of Tribal Relations, and the attorney assigned to Native Hawaiian issues at DOI. So moved.
Sherry, I don't know if it's worth putting in, but do you think any reference to the apology?
There is a reference to.
Oh, you do? Okay, perfect. Mahalo.
Scroll down, Amber.
Thank
Keep
you.
going. Right there. See where it says whereas? Up, go up. Up, right there. There's 2 paragraphs repeated from the apology resolution.
Perfect. Mahalo.
So we have
Okay.
a motion.
Okay.
We
I'll
need a
wait till
second.
after the motion. Well, let me ask you this question. I see the last paragraph, that
Yes,
there's no waiver. And in light
Yeah.
of some of the discussions that there were lawsuits that were filed for failure to,
yeah.
is there have you thought about what if they don't respond?
Oh,
Is-
I'm sure they'll respond. to
Okay,
some-
okay, if you're
yeah,
confident.
to some extent, they're gonna show this to their lawyers and, they get all of, gazillions of letters. I think this.
Because this
Yeah,
is,
think
I
it's
guess,
pretty standard.
okay,
or
I just
something
don't
like
want
that.
from, as representing a state agency.
I'd say, yeah.
This isn't going to be the basis for like a lawsuit, is it? Their responses to this letter, will it be a basis for a lawsuit?
Well, I mean, I can't speak for anybody else,
Yeah,
uh,
and I
I
guess.
just think that, I think we don't know anything, so it's hard yet, so it's hard to even respond to that question.
Yeah.
But I think that this, I don't know, I think this is pretty standard. I use this kind of language all the time in letters.
I think
Yeah, I'm
everything,
just-
okay,
everything is
let's-
basis, everything is basis for a lawsuit. You can find your lawsuit in everything. So let's
Yeah.
just.
Right.
No,
Okay,
no,
yeah,
and
yeah,
you're right,
Trustee
you're right.
Gualtieri, I totally agree with you. I hope.
Yeah, my caution is just that because we're three of us represent state agencies. So what I don't want to
Right.
see happen is that this become a basis for a lawsuit and we haven't engaged with our Attorney General's office on reviewing it. If
Well,
we're just here,
Yeah, I
we're
get,
just here
I
looking for information, yeah.
get it done.
But I think this is
if-
in your interest too. You're not waiving any
Yeah,
state
if
interests
it
or
does
whatever.
rise to the occasion of a lawsuit, at least we'll get some action. Right now, everybody's sitting on their hands. So whatever we can do to advance the notion of getting to some kind of, I don't know, getting whatever we're trying to do here, we got to get the guys to start, get the lead out and let's get moving, man. And it's like, it's top down, bottom up, everybody got to know what's going on.
No, fair enough.
Okay.
I'm gonna, okay, nope. And I've got two other state officials here too, so I will defer
Okay.
to
Yeah.
them as well. I mean, I'm the
All
only
right.
one talking, so.
But
I'll-
see, I think this is in the state's best interest too. You're not waiving any rights of state.
So Sherry, after you develop the list of federal repositories and libraries
Yeah,
and requests for federal funding available for inventories and accountings, who are we going to, is that a second letter?
yes,
Okay,
yeah.
so you
It's
will
like,
draft
at
that.
the same time, Chair, I'm starting to think about what our report might look like. So the idea of, that we have all these inventories that we did find, I think that will be helpful at the legislature and with other Native Hawaiian people to say there are a lot of things out there, and to show that we tried to bring everything all together and work with the feds as well. So I'm looking at like, what are we going to do in a report as well?
Okay, I hope we have something more solid to report to the legislature so that they don't sit back in frustration, knowing what's the next steps.
Yeah,
So
but they're the ones that didn't give us any funding to take more
that's true. Yeah,
action.
that's
But
true.
nonetheless, I think that, well, anyways, let's see where we get, and then we can evaluate if we think it's actually enough.
Okay.
Chair Lindsay.
Yes.
Would it be recommended for us to take a copy of this letter and hand deliver it when we're in Washington? Because we're going to be meeting with Senator.
Yeah, we can. We can personally deliver it.
Yeah,
It's,
if the
we're
committee
going to
is
go
okay with
next
that.
week.
Yeah, exactly. So if the committee is fine with that, we can hand deliver one too.
Yep.
I think that would be wonderful. So, okay, I made a motion and somebody I thought seconded it.
Question. We're gonna send this out via mail, and we're gonna keep if you folks hand deliver, you still want to keep the June 20th date.
Yes,
Is that
ma'am.
correct?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Yes, we have a motion. Sherry, you moved the motion, and I need a second.
Second it.
Thank you.
Sherry has moved the motion. Ryan has second. I'll do a roll call vote. Sherry Broder,
Aye.
Don Chang,
Don?
I know, I'm choosing whether I'm gonna abstain. I'll vote aye. I'll vote aye.
we're good, go to
You
Sherry.
want to hear the motion again, Don?
No, I see this, my concern is I believe this is outside of the scope of Act 226, but I also see it's a desire to get more information, and if it's to get more funds, but I just want to be very clear, I do think this is outside of the scope of Act 226, what our role is, but if it is to seek funding and additional information that we may not have, but the federal government may have, I will support the motion.
Okay.
Berkeley Galataria,
Aye.
Ryan Kanaka Ole,
Yes.
Hulu Lindsay,
Yes.
and Luis Salaveria.
Aye.
We have 6 yes votes. Motion passes.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on. Move on to item 4. Amber, is anyone signed up to speak on this item?
No one is signed up to speak on item 4, and for the record, no one signed up to speak on item 3 as well.
Okay, item 4 is the discussion regarding steps to follow up on first set of responses to PLT WG letter to state agencies in order to receive substantive detailed response, lands including submerged lands. Wasn't that part of our letter that we just discussed?
No, the one we just discussed is to the feds, but we
Yeah.
did send
Oh.
out the letter already to the state, but we didn't really get much in the way of responses and.
Yeah.
uh,
Chair, I can,
Yeah.
and Sherry, I can add,
right.
you know, at our last
Thank-
meeting, you know, I think both, you know, Don and myself, and Ryan committed to bringing up at the next cabinet meeting, you know, basically the importance of the work that the PLT, working group is doing.
Mhm.
Since then, we haven't had a really good cabinet meeting. I know our next cabinet meeting is coming up, on the 19th. And that will be everybody. So again, our commitment is to make sure that you know, every one of the other directors are made fully aware of the importance of the information that's being requested of them, and we'll make sure that that communique gets out.
Thank you very
Okay,
much.
thank you. Okay.
Did Dawn have something that she wanted to say that I interrupted when I thought we should go ahead and vote on that motion?
Yeah, thanks, Sherry. My short-term
I'm
memory.
sorry, I just thought before we moved on to another
Okay.
topic, we should finish
I
that
think
up.
there was a follow-up to the DHHL. I wanted to know what was DHHL's response to the first letter, especially in
Okay.
light of Ryan's most recent information that that they do have descriptions. So Amber, do you have their response?
Yes, let me pull that up and I can share that with the group.
Thank you, Amber. And Amber, you're doing such a great job. Thank you so much navigating through all of our different requests.
Well,
Thank
she's
you.
my top IT lady, let me
I
tell
know.
you.
You better hold on to her, Chair. They're hard to find. So
Yes.
Thank you, thank you.
While Amber is looking for that, did we send a similar letter to the county?
No.
Stacy, to answer your question, no, we did
Should
not.
We didn't move in that direction yet, actually.
Just because I know that there's been a lot of EOs to the county. And again, I just think that if we can get as many of the different pieces, because we may not get a total picture from the feds and we may not get a total picture from the state. But if we look at all levels of government, we can try to piece it together. For the committee's consideration.
Sherry,
Yes,
do you have a response to Stacy's recommendation
I agree.
that we should send it to the counties?
Well, we need to do a letter to the counties too. Yes.
Yeah, we haven't yet.
We haven't yet, so maybe we can put that on the agenda, the draft letter on the agenda in next meeting.
Okay. Amber,
I guess because we didn't get much of an answer from the state agencies. I was thinking perhaps we should see what we needed to do to get an answer from the state agencies.
mm-hmm.
Anyways, I'll think about, I don't know, maybe the letter needs to go to the mayors and have the mayors ask the mayors
Yeah.
to instruct their departments or something like that.
Yeah, I think it needs to go to the mayors too.
All right. Okay.
Amber, can you scroll down that letter? I'd like to see what there is.
Can you see it, Dawn?
Yes, I can. Thank you so very much.
Okay.
I'm also working on sending it to the group right now.
Oh, okay.
So
That
that
might
at
be.
least you folks can have it
Yeah.
on your folks screen as well.
Okay.
Okay, I have sent that out, so you folks can also have that for your record, and if you folks want to
I
pull it up on
appreciate
the
it. Chair, I won't take up any more time. I'll look at the letter that Amber sends.
Okay,
Thank you.
okay, moving on. We didn't discuss, item 4 yet, did we? Discussion regarding steps to follow up on first set of responses to our working group letter to state agencies in order to receive substantive, detailed response lands, including submerged lands.
I think Louis explained.
Okay,
You do want to go ahead, Louis, and just
well,
update?
I think, no, go ahead, Louis.
Oh, yeah, Chair, I think at the last meeting, again,
Yeah.
myself, Don, and Ryan committed to making sure that a communique went out to the other directors.
Yeah.
Maybe the follow-up, the lead into that question is that maybe we can send a subsequent, letter to the directors regarding, what kind of information. Maybe, I think the original letter was like, what did you have, all of these different things. If we really wanted to extract some kind of level of information, I mean, maybe just template the next letter and give them a form to fill out, if that's the case. And that would make it a lot easier and then consistent in terms of the response, because I think one of the problems was the responses from the departments were, some were a little bit more detailed, others were more qualitative in nature, I think. So
Uh-huh.
how do we reconcile and kind of put that together in some kind of usable format? I leave it up to the rest of the group to kind of discuss, but our commitment is, again, to make sure that they follow up on that original memo that was sent out and request for information, and just reiterating the importance of responding back to it.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
Chair,
yes,
To Louis's point, I think he's absolutely correct. We should probably send a template with the letter to make it easy for them to populate for consistency and ease of use. We
Who's
can do
gonna
that. We can do
together?
that. Our team can do that. But it would
Okay.
be good to get it would be good to get the committee's feedback on what elements you would want collected.
So maybe what we could do is you could draft up a template and bring it to the next
Sure.
meeting, so we all agree on it, and then that may be a nice thing, Louis, too, because it's a little safe face for the agencies, like, okay, we didn't get the answers we wanted, so now we're gonna try again, but we have something better for you to utilize to be able to answer.
Exactly. I guess depending on who reads it, right? I mean, they may read it one way or versus the
Yeah.
other.
Okay.
And this is Dawn. I also think that, so I think while we may, because I'm reading through DHHL's letter here. So they don't provide any inventory because their conclusion is they are one of the 5 trust beneficiaries. So therefore, they don't provide any inventory of the ceded lands or revenue. I also think that that's similar response to like DOE and UH. So we may have not found them to be responsive, and that may be more of a legislative fix. That may be something that we include in the report, because I'm gonna have to go through and look at all those letters again, but yeah, to see how we respond. But that's just, as I'm reading DHHL's letter, it does seem to be similar to some of the other letters that we receive from agencies who don't report revenue because they consider they are serving one of the 5 trust purposes, beneficiaries.
But Don, couldn't we just clarify in the letter that even if you're not responsible for, doing, addressing the revenues, we can ask for the report on ceded lands, which they have. They do. Yeah, so we just need to clarify that in the language.
Okay.
I don't think we shouldn't ask them though.
Okay, because I think some of them like DOT, Department of
DOT
Ag.
answered.
Yeah,
DOT
so
answered,
they
but-
provide the inventory. They just don't necessarily report it as revenue.
Right.
So yeah, okay, but that's a good, we could always do that.
Yeah.
But
Well-
just for clarification, DOT, well, except for the airports, they don't provide their 20%, but they do report it. So they are different than UH and DHHL and DOE. Because they do report it. DOT does, the airports do report their revenue.
So is DHHL included in the 5, or are they standing alone with their federal law behind them? Can somebody answer? Can one of you attorneys answer me?
Uh,
DHHL stands alone, is my understanding.
Well, they probably, you see it both ways, which is, 5F is for the betterment of the conditions of Native Hawaiians, and that's their job too. They have a particular specificity within that category, and then they are referred to specifically in the Admissions Act. So, and in the, it was a condition precedent to statehood for the state to take the Hawaiian homelands as a separate trust.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I understood, that they were a separate trust.
Yeah, I recall that. I recall that they always fell right outside of the trust lineup, or equal but not a part of that 5.
Right.
That's how I recall it.
Orion
No, that's
probably knows
correct.
better.
The way that we've always, or at least the way that I've always understood it, was that Hawaiian Homelands Trust is separate and apart from the what we would consider public land trust.
Yeah, I understood that too. I'm asking that question because I think of the 5, all 5 should be reporting. Because how then can we get an honest 20% out of the total, the whole? That's not for the one of the 5 to determine what they contribute. It should be all put together as one to see 100%, and then 20% come out of that. Okay, I'm gonna move on. Discussion regarding templates to standardize state agency accounting methods to bring consistency in Act 178 agency reporting. Ooh, Louis. Louis,
I'm here. Sorry. Just,
I think we talked to you about it last meeting.
oh yeah, no, I think it's again, the standardization of information and the accounting of gross versus net, and how everything is different departments may interpret their
Yeah,
definition
different.
of gross, right? And so
Yeah.
making some clarity with regards to that, or I mean, even like to Don's point, would we want legislative clarification with regards to the the recognition of revenue, right? So
I wouldn't trust the legislature to make that definition. They'll
and
rob
so,
the Hawaiians.
so it makes sense for us, right? I mean, and I think we were all very clear. I think the language in the law states it's gross revenue, right?
Yes.
And so
Well, we need
for me, from an accounting perspective, it's pretty easy. Gross is gross, right? But
Yes.
Well, gross is gross, but you got to define, what that means, because people have come to understand this as an honor system, and I mean, the honor is in reporting honorably. And so going forward,
Hello.
I mean, as I recall, we've been asking this question for a while, and even when I was in the legislature, it could be a legislative fix on this one, so there's no question. But who's gonna draw up the template, I think is really key. What we learned was that, guys would just wait until they reach the, get close to the limit, then throw in what they gotta throw in. And that's based on their own honor system too. So consistency is very, very important here. Now, who's gonna draw that up remains to be seen, but Louis, I think that's in your lap or what?
No, I mean, definitely can, I believe I would want to be involved in making that, that assessment. I think, again, even when we talk about, the value, right? Actual revenue versus like in-kind contributions, I know in the last conversation we had about, the University of Hawaii providing, I guess,
Yes,
like telescope time. But how do you value that telescope time, right? If it's not in dollars and cents per se. So, it's very interesting because, departments, and I see this even from a Department of Budget and Finance perspective, they get very creative in how they,
Oh, yeah.
how they can, categorize and, and receive revenue and recognize revenue. So, yeah, this is a topic of conversation that I think is going to be very important in the work that we do. But I also do think it's kind of like, it's like subsequent come up with inventory, and then the inventory will drive the revenue, right? If we try to figure out what the revenue is, but not having the inventory, they're almost like two separate activities to some degree.
No, I don't disagree that they're two separate entities, but they're going to work hand in hand. So as we get the inventory, we should be prepared to address it in a more, and we're not looking for goodwill here. We're looking for a solid template to work off of. So everybody from, everybody right across, and I said this before, I get tired of listening to me, but we want 20% of every candy bar coming out of those machines at the UH2, whatever the heck that means. And that's on the ground level. So the closer we get and the quicker we get to some type of resolution on the formula, that'll be very, very helpful to the big picture.
Might I add to what Trustee is saying? Yes, we do want 20% of everything, but we certainly don't want 20% off of a dollar lease. And I think that there is a huge issue that also needs to be resolved in terms of lack of consultation with OHA on ceded lands, when leases are coming up for renewal. Or even long-term leases, like 99-year leases or whatever, the terms have to be in consultation with OHA. Because right now, I'd like to say that 20 cents on a dollar is not acceptable to OHA. And there are many of those in the public land trust. So I think we need to address that as well. 20% is an issue and the revenues off of that, but I also want to make sure it's pono in terms of lease negotiations.
well, especially like Mauna Kea.
Exactly, Chair.
We know how many millions of dollars they're making off those telescopes, and they're diverting the money so that we don't see it and take our 20%.
Well,
How can that be?
It's coming in as a sublease, right?
Yeah,
The master lease is $1, get to sublease, right? And then that's
Yeah.
where the big money is, but we see 20 cents on that, and that's unacceptable. So we need to, I think, put that as part of the recommendations going forward on what that either consultation looks like or how we can be involved in lease negotiations.
okay, I'm going to move on to item number 6, support for legislation in 2025 session to pay for retention of expert consultants to analyze current inventories and 2023 DLNR Act 178 report for accuracy and completeness.
Okay, so
Sherry?
we already did that, and the bill is still pending. I mean, we did get out of one committee, so I just wanted to take the opportunity to remind everybody that the bill is still pending, so we might want to consider.
Sherry, the
Yes,
bill,
right.
it's a new session, so
Yeah,
the
that's what I
bill
was gonna
doesn't
say.
carry over.
Oh, okay.
The new
Sorry.
biennium, yeah.
We'd have to reintroduce.
Okay, so do we want to do that? So
Yeah,
anyways, I'm
I mean-
bringing it up again, that maybe we should reintroduce the bill.
I don't.
Yeah, I
You know,
think we-
Yeah, Chair, my recommendation is we should have a report. I
yeah,
mean, by that time, we've done 2 years. So and as part of our recommendations should include a budget, that these are, both legislative fix as well as potential budgetary requests. But I think we will stand a better chance getting funding if we've completed that report. So I think that would be helpful.
I agree with you, Dawn. I think we have to have a report done before the
Yeah.
next session. But I guess I kind of think maybe we should be pursuing the funding again. But I'm just bringing it up now to remind everybody, and I don't think we need to make a decision about what to do about it quite yet.
I mean, I
Okay.
think strategically, right, if the report were to talk about the work that the working group has been doing, the challenges that we have, it leads into the justification for
money.
money.
Yeah. I agree with you, Luis. Okay, moving on. Amber, do we have anyone signed up at all today? Because I'm tired of asking that question.
As of right now, there is no one signed up to speak. If
Okay.
someone signs up, I will let you know.
Okay, we're doing good with time. Item number 7, discussion regarding requests to the federal government and counties for information relating to the inventory and identification of ceded lands and public land trust lands, including submerged lands under their jurisdiction and accounting of the income and proceeds derived therefrom. We partly discussed this item, but it probably includes the letter that we discussed earlier to the counties, but it needs to be a big letter, encompassing all of what this paragraph just said. And are you in agreement? Hello?
I am.
Sherry?
I am.
So you'll draft this letter to
Yes, for the next meeting. Yes.
okay. So we'll have Sherry draft that letter and
But
include
that
all.
didn't we say we were going to go through the mayors for that, Chair?
Yes,
All right.
yes.
Okay.
But the inclusion of all these items in this paragraph needs to be included in that as
Okay.
well.
Okay.
Okay, moving on to item number 8, Review Act 304, Session Laws, Hawaii 1990, and the extent to which Act 304 is still being relied on, court decisions and history of payments of pro rata share of airport revenues to OHA, and last OHA demand for yearly pro rata share based on 2016 NNK financial review and how to update. Please elaborate, Sherry.
Okay. Well, I brought this up before, that Act 304 is used by the state agencies, by the state government, and in particular, the definition of sovereign and proprietary revenue. And I've also brought up that the airport revenues, when there have been settlements for past due amounts, the airport revenues were included in a calculation, and those funds were paid from the general fund. So I want to be able to, I hope that we'll be able to include that in the report. I also wanted to remind everybody that the last time a financial review was done was of the data in 2016. And so now we're almost, by the time we finish this report, it'll be, at least 8 years ago. So I don't know exactly how, I think that what we can do is we can use the data from the 2016 report, and at least for an estimate, the best available information would be the Act 178 reports that DLNR submits to the legislature based on information the DLNR gets from the agencies. But that'll be the best information available. I'm not saying that it's accurate and complete, but at least it's on its way to being that. So I think that when we do the report, we can use that for a revenue estimate.
Okay.
But I don't know if anybody has any feedback on that.
Lois, do you think an 8-year-old report would be criticized, let's say, in our report to the legislature on this working group? You know, we don't have an updated report because they didn't say yes to a budget we asked for this very purpose.
And I think that's the challenge. And a lot has changed in the past 8 years, obviously.
Yes.
So I would say from a financial perspective, the information is dated.
Yeah. Not only that, we did get a $5 million increase from the legislature in this period.
Mhm.
So that needs to be noted in our report as well.
Yes.
Not that it's close to what we think we should be getting, but we are appreciative of the increase.
Mhm.
So, yeah, how do we handle this? Well, I guess, go ahead.
Yeah, I would, you know, maybe it's would be good for the working group to just do a little bit more of a deeper dive on the previous information and then make some assessment in terms of how we would want to approach. But I would highly recommend that we, you know, again, because there are underlying issues associated with the old NNK report too as well in terms of the recognition of revenue as well. And you know, we would, if we were to go inside there and redo another you know, another financial assessment under very specific parameters, then that would be much better when it comes to, you know, making the justification for any type of revenue recognition.
Yeah.
Chair, if I can
Yes.
add to that, you know, in my view, I think that when looking at that that NNK report, we actually lost 8 years. So because not a lot has changed. I mean, a lot of the issues, the discrepancies 8 years ago that NNK brought up, we find in the Act 178 reports. They aren't, so I mean, I think the fact that it's 8 years old, the fact that not much has really changed, that we see that the shortcomings that NNK brought up 8 years ago still remain in how the state agencies are responding to their revenue accounting. So, I mean, to a certain extent, OHA has, over the last 8 years, may not have gotten what they really are entitled to. And so, you know, again, to me, that report only supports when we put in the report that there is that state agencies, and we need guidance from the legislature, because what they're reporting 8 years ago is what NNK brought up as inconsistencies. And over the last 8 years, they are still reporting the same inconsistencies. So in my view, even if we hired another NNK, their report would still have the inconsistencies between what OHA believes they should be, agencies should be reporting. So, I mean, I think that should be included in the report, because for me, that's the confirmation I got when I reviewed the responses from the state agencies. I said, while some may agree that they've been non-responsive, their responses in their mind are the same that they've provided for Act 178 for the last 8 years. And those are the things that NNK brought up. So again, I mean, I think that this would be part of our report. And if we do, if the ledge pays for another accounting, it should be based upon comparing apples with apples. As Lewis says, there should be some kind of standard. Because I appreciated your comment, Hulu Lindsay, about 20%. It's whether, even if they have a 5F purpose, DOE or UH, they still need to report all of revenue. They don't,
Yeah.
they may not have to be paying that, but OHA believes they are entitled to 20% of all revenue.
Right,
Not just, it's not, we carve out,
right.
each of the, so I mean, I think that is a very important distinction, the point that you made.
Mhm.
And I think the report should expand on that,
Yeah.
there is, whether the agencies, pay their 20% revenue, it's really not the point. Well, it's one of the points, but the more important point is OHA needs an accurate inventory of
Yeah.
all revenue.
Well,
so that they
it's
can.
not what DOE determines or UH determines.
Yeah.
We need to see the whole,
Right,
WHOLE,
Right.
and then we see the 20% coming off of that whole.
Right. Because I think there is a really big distinction by that. Because, I don't, I know that DOE has again, I don't know what what the revenue, if anything, they're generating, but UH I'm sure is generating. So your point is well taken. And those to me should all be in the report, that we are not comparing. Again, there is a discrepancy between the criteria that agencies are using to report, as well as to determine the 20% revenue. So yeah, I think this report, so Sherry, you're going to work on that and circulate that for everybody's review, because I think that's going to be really critical
Yeah,
to us moving forward next year.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, thank you for taking that project on.
Well, don't expect it at the next meeting, that's all.
Oh, yeah, no,
But that's why I keep bringing up all these different things that we've talked about before and everything. I just want to
yeah,
make sure that I understand what everybody else is saying.
no, I appreciate that. Okay,
Okay,
thank you, Kim.
when is a good time for our next meeting? Um,
I like these 8 o'clock meetings, Chair.
oh, good. I like it too. Because the rest of the day becomes so busy,
I know.
you know.
Yeah.
So how about let's see, we're gonna be kind of busy with the FestPac in the next 10 days.
Yeah.
And then we're going to Washington DC to drape our king. And we're coming back on the 18th. So I'm suggesting maybe the 25th at this time, 8 o'clock.
What, 25th? Let me double check.
That's a Tuesday.
June 25th.
June 25th.
I will probably have to cut out at around 9 a.m. for a Board of Agriculture meeting.
Okay.
I,
Otherwise,
yeah, sorry to Chair. I do have a 8 to 9. I may be late, but on
No,
Maui.
we can move the date. I'm just throwing out
Oh.
number.
Why don't we
So-
try the 26th? Why don't we try Wednesday, Chair, at 8? See what,
26.
yeah.
Fine.
What do you folks look like on the 26th? Is it
I-
better?
for me, looks like a mandatory training. I don't know what that's about.
Okay, 27th at 8?
Oh, if we can move that to 9, I have a Kala Papa matter that's coming up at that time.
That's what I was gonna say, Chair.
Yeah,
I can do the 27th at 9.
okay.
Works
Yeah,
for
can
me.
can we do 10 o'clock? Our meeting goes from 8 to 9:30. Can we do 10 o'clock, Chair?
Amber, do we have a board meeting that day? 27?
No, we do not.
No, Chair.
So your
Okay.
calendar as of right now looks clear for Thursday, the 27th.
I'm good with 10 o'clock then.
All right.
Is 10 o'clock good for all of you?
Yeah,
Works for
Rick?
me.
Rick?
yeah.
Okay.
Hello, this is Dawn.
Okay, let's do the 27th at 10 o'clock for the next meeting. Are you okay, Sherry, with that?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Okay. You got a whole lot of work to do before that.
Yeah. Well, I'm
Okay.
not, there's not gonna be any report ready for a while, so, but there's still more work to do.
Okay. If there's nothing else, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
So move, Chair.
Second,
Again,
it's been moved and seconded. Amber, roll call.
Barry Broder,
Aye.
Don Chang,
Aye.
Ricky Galataria,
Right.
Ryan Kanakaole,
I
Hulu Lindsay,
Aye.
Luis Oliveria.
I
6 yes votes. We are adjourned.
Okay, thank you so
Take care.
much. Nice to see you
Everyone.
folks.
Nice